Hi everybody, today we're going to review for our quiz for the first part of Unit 4, our first big idea, which was rounding in place value. We're going to start with rounding to the nearest hundred. So when we're rounding numbers to the nearest hundred, it is important that we know what the hundreds are, that the numbers between. So looking at 428, we're going to look at the digit in the hundreds place, and we know that that's a 4. So I know 428 would be between 400, and then if I'm counting by hundreds, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 would come next. So we'd have 500 here. I need to find out what 428 is closer to. I know 450 would be right in the middle. 428 would be closer to 400 when I just look at it visually. Another way we can do it is by looking at the digit in the tens place. The digit in the tens place is a 2. Whenever the digit is 4 and below, we take it down low, which means you take it to the lower number. So I would round this number to 400. It's approximately 400. Now, if that digit were 5 or above, I would give it a shove and round it to 500. So now we're doing the same thing. The directions say round to the nearest hundred. And if I were you, when you take your quiz today, make sure you underline or think about, what am I rounding to again? This number's 931, and I have to round to the nearest hundred. So this is a little tricky. First, I need to know what two hundreds it's between. There's a 9 in the hundreds place, so I know it's between 900. And what comes after 9? 10, which would be 1000, or it's the same thing as 1000. Now, if I want to figure out which number I would round to, I have to look in the tens place. It's a 3. Since it's 4 or below, I'm going to take it down low, and I'm going to round it to 900. Now on your quiz, you'll also see directions that ask you to round to the nearest 10. Again, be careful what your directions are asking you to do. Read carefully. So the first problem, 654. You notice that that number goes into the hundreds place, but I'm still rounding to the nearest 10. So I'm going to leave that 6 there, but I'm going to think about 54 as a number. I think that'll be a little easier. So when I round this, I know it's going to be 600 something. If I'm rounding 54 to the nearest 10, I know it's going to be between 50 and 60. 4 is in the ones place. So when I'm rounding to the nearest 10, I have to look at the digit in the ones place to know if it's 4 or below or 5 or above. This is 4 or below. I'm going to take it down low. So I know that it would go to 50, 650. Okay? Now looking at the next number, it's 817. Again, I'm rounding to the nearest 10, so I'm just going to leave that 8 in the hundreds place, and I'm going to look at this number here, 17. I want to round that to the nearest 10. Well, there's a 1 in the tens place, so it's going to be between 810 and 820. Or between 10 and 20. Looking at the 7 in the ones place, it's 5 and above. Give it a shove. That means I'm going to round it to the higher number, which would be 820. Okay? You'll also see problems that review our place value. We talked about drawings that represented different numbers. The squares were our hundreds, the lines or sticks were our tens, and the dots were our ones. We also looked at the thousands place, but today we're just going to focus on the hundreds because that's mainly the goal for third grade. So I'm going to start with my big place value, the hundreds, and I'm going to count 1, 2. I know there'll be a 2 in my hundreds place. Now I'm going to count my tens. I see a group of 5, so that's 5 tens or 50, and another 10, which makes 60. So there'll be a 6 in my tens place, and then I'm going to count my ones. 1, 2, 3. A 3 in the ones place. So this whole place value drawing represents 263. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 hundreds. I'm counting my hundreds first. 10, 20, 2 10s, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 1s. 425. You will also have problem solving. So here's an example of a problem you might see similar to this. Sarah has 432 game cards. I'm going to underline that because I know it's important. She puts them into piles of 100. How many piles of 100 does she make? I think I'll draw a picture to help me so I can visualize. There's 100, 200, 300. There's 400s in this number, game cards. 3 10s, 10, 20, 30, and 2 1s. So here's my place value drawing of 432. I want to know if she puts these cards into piles of 100, how many piles of 100 does she make? Well, I know each one of these is worth 100. So I have my answer right here. 1 pile, 2 piles, 3 piles, 4 piles. 4 piles of 100 is what she makes. It didn't ask me how many are left over, but I can see she's going to have 10, 20, 30, 31, 32 left over. 32 left over. So when you complete your quiz on Google Slides, be sure to read carefully. Answer the question in a text box. If you need scratch paper, you can grab some to do your work. Good luck!